Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live demo with all of us here from Roon. Uh, we're going to waste a couple seconds here for people to show up. Again, welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this live webinar. We're going to be showing you how to uh, set up Roon, kind of get started, and then go over some cool features that you'll be able to check out as you have Roon set up on your computer and running, ready to stream your music. Joining me will be a few friends from us here at Roon who will be answering your questions. So please feel free to pass along any questions you have via chat. We'll be answering them live. And then at the end of this presentation, whatever questions we can, I'll be answering here on screen as well. I'm going to go ahead and share a view of Roon here and kind of get things going here. So gonna give it just a little bit, let people kind of file in. And again, welcome. So what we're looking at here is the introduction to Roon when you first boot it up on your system. As you can see, I do have a nucleus on my network, but for the sake of this demonstration, I am going to set up a brand new system on my Mac. And what we're doing here is setting up the core of our Roon system. That's kind of the brain of what's going to be managing your music as it streams. For Roon, the core is what holds your music. If you're listening to streamed music from Tidal or Qobuz, the core is what streams that music in over your internet. Once it streams that music in, it'll send it out to the devices that are available around your home. So what that means is that this is where all of the information transfer will happen. And while you're using Roon, you'll control it from a remote. That could be another computer, a phone, an iPad, a tablet with the Roon app on it. Those apps are going to visualize what your core is doing as it streams your music out. In Roon speak, the zones are what's going to be playing your music. It could be your hi-fi system, it could be a smart speaker, it could even be your TV. Whatever you have connected inside of the Roon app, we'll be able to stream your music to. We'll have that full flexibility there. So yeah, Roon is going to be here as a tool for helping you discover your music, manage your music library, and make the most of your whole music listening experience, from learning and understanding your music to actually getting to enjoy and listen to your music. So to kind of kick things off, here is the initial setup. We'll say, okay, I'd like to use this Mac as my Roon core. And it's going to ask me to log in. So I'll go ahead and do that here. Hopefully I remember my password, right? And then we're going to log in. Roon is immediately going to present me with a screen to see if I have any music stored on this computer. If I have any music in, say, a music folder that I would like to add, I can go ahead and grab that folder. And as you can see, I have music stored in here. And I'll say, hey, yes, I have some music from, say, my iTunes library, or some existing music I'd already stored in a folder here on my computer. I'll grab that folder here in this view, and I will say, select this folder. If it's relevant to you, if you have a NAS drive, you can always click on Add Network Share, and we'll give you the tools you'll need to map out and add in your network drive so that you get that listening experience set up, so your Roon core is able to pull in that music and stream it to your devices from wherever that music is in your home as well. So we'll go ahead and say, yep, I'd like to use my music folder as a music storage location as well. And then we'll continue along. Just to clarify, Roon won't modify your music file folders. It won't change your file structure or anything like that. Instead, we'll build our own index inside of our library. We'll kind of itemize your music and set it up inside the Roon app. but any changes you might make to how a song is presented, the song name, things like that, don't impact the file itself. So your files in your file structures are all perfectly safe and completely unchanged as you're using the Roon app. Then, of course, we'd like to add some streaming, spice the music experience up just a little bit. I have a Tidal account ready to go, so I'll go ahead and click log in, and Tidal will open a tab in your browser and get you logged in and set up so that you have that music connection right there. You don't have to necessarily remember your password if you have stored that password in your browser. Once that process is complete, it'll prompt you to reopen the Roon app, and we'll come back here. And what we're going to see here is all the devices that Roon is able to play my music to. That includes Roon ready devices and Roon tested devices. We see Roon tested device here in the Audio Quest Dragonfly, as well as other Roon devices or AirPlay or Chromecast devices that are available around my home. Once I've selected the different devices that I would like to play my music to, I can go ahead and say, I'm done for now. You can always revisit that settings screen and say, hey, I added a new device, or I would like to expand the number of places or reduce the number of places I would like to listen to music on or see available in the app. So that's always as flexible as you need it to be. Once we have those selected, you can go in and choose a name for your devices and set them up inside of the Roon app, and then you can choose them. And once you've chosen them in that view, that's how you're going to be able to stream to that particular zone. So you'll be all set up, and you'll have all of your zones added into the system. The next logical thing you're going to want to do is start listening to your music. We'll start out here on the homepage. This is a brand new library, so Roon is going to be giving me some very fresh recommendations. Over time, these recommendations are going to change, and Roon is going to pay attention to what albums you're adding to your library, what songs you're listening to, and it's going to adapt and say, hey, it looks like you're interested in the pop genre, classical music, and it's going to bring those recommendations to you so that every time you open up Roon, you're seeing relevant recommendations. You're seeing things that you're interested in. We call this our machine learning technology called valence. And valence is going to be huge for helping you expand your music discography and helping bring context and bring extra pieces to how you're experiencing music. So at the top here, we see all the recent activity I have in my listening experience. It's a brand new library, so it's just showing me what I've recently added because it's building that index of music that is in my library from Tidal and on my computer. As we scroll down, Roon is going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a couple new music recommendations, and I can click on more to see just a broad selection of just music recommendations. Again, we don't have any fine-tuned profile of me built out just yet, so it's going to just kind of cover its bases and say, here's a whole bunch of new music. You might be interested in it. And as my taste refines and grows and Roon understands what I'm listening to, it's going to become more and more specific. The new releases for you screen goes back about 6 months. So any releases from 6 months ago till now, Roon is going to say, hey, this new music has been coming out. You might be interested in checking it out. So it gives you an easy way to just kind of check in and say, hey, what's new music coming from my favorite artists or in my genres that I'm interested in following. So it's a super useful tool for that listening experience. We're going to also give you a little bit of a peek into how you're listening to music and when you're listening to music. We'll highlight some playlists that we are interested in showing you as a music enthusiast, just some highlights that we found interesting in music that we think you might enjoy as well. Roon also supports terrestrial radio. If they had a online stream of their broadcast. You can tune in using the Roon app, and we'll highlight some local stations for you right there in the Roon app. Of course, if you'd like, you can always jump in and see other radio stations as well. Of course, we'll give you some more information and new tools for discovering your music, and then highlighting your streaming service playlist as well at the bottom. So overall, on the homepage, we're looking to surface music for you and give you tools for looking at your listening history, looking at what you've liked listening to already, as well as giving you new tools to see, hey, there's new music out. I'm interested in engaging in that as well. Once we do that, we can always open up an album and then see what's in that music. So we can look at a performer, and we can grab an album that's in our library, and then we can see first and foremost that there's a description and a review of that album, kind of emphasizing and describing what's going on inside of that musical performance. We're going to see some tags showing off genres, and you'll also get some interesting track detailing information over here on the right. As you notice, there's some hyperlinks here in this review, and clicking on these links will take me to whoever this artist is that's also mentioned in that review. Kinds of drawing connections around the music industry as I'm engaging with pieces of music that I'm familiar with, or just checking out and enjoying. Of course, as you scroll in, we're going to start seeing the music, and we're going to get all the different pieces of those performances and extra pieces of detail for who's performing what and who's featured. And to see all of that highlighted, you can see who's credited on that album, and you can see who's seen performing. And for each of these people, you can click on their names and then dig into each of their personal discographies as well. So you're getting a really strong tool for expanding your library, finding connections, and seeing different iterations of music and different ways that artists work with each other and collaborate with each other. So it's a really fun tool for that. If we look at an artist, or really any view inside of Roon, anytime you see the Play Now button, you'll see a drop-down button. And next to that, you can start Roon Radio. And this is another tool for discovering music and seeing different opportunities for expanding your music library. We have live lyrics here, of course, but when I click skip, Roon Radio is just going to grab another track from a relevant genre based off of where I started Roon Radio. It's always going to be catered to you, and it's going to be relevant to where you started from and also what you're interested in. It'll take your feedback over time. You can tell Roon Radio whether it's giving you good or bad suggestions, and you can choose to add that album to your library as well if you really enjoy it. So it's a huge tool for learning about music, expanding your listening experience, and if you want, it's just an easy way to get music playing, and it just continues to play and play. You don't have to worry about picking the next track in the queue. Of course, that's not all there is to music. Sometimes when you're using Roon and you're looking for something in particular, you might want some extra ways to filter your music, and that's where a feature we call Focus comes in. I think a great example for this comes through classical music. And if I go into looking at music that's composed by Beethoven, which it's notable that Roon understands that Beethoven is a composer, not a performer, and that when you're searching for music that credits Beethoven, you're looking for music that's he's composed and that other people have performed. And I can highlight that by opening Focus over here on the left-hand side of the screen, and then looking at the different credits and file formats and sources that I can find this music from. So if we look in here, we're getting a lot of different attributes that I can kind of pull out and highlight for what I want to show off. So I could grab Leonard Bernstein, and then I can match him to the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. And I can scroll through Roon and see all the albums in Tidal and in Qobuz that are sharing those two attributes, that are composed by Beethoven and performed by the New York Philharmonic while Bernstein's conducting. So you get a really strong resource for finding what music's available to you, finding attributes of music that you're really interested in. Maybe you want to see music that's outside of the New York Philharmonic. You can simply click on that filter and invert it so that it excludes that option. Or you can just remove the filter. Focus gives you a lot of tools for managing your music library, kind of honing into a specific person or sound that you're looking for. But it also helps you discover what's available to you based off of things you already know you're interested in. It's a really strong tool, and it's a very awesome way to learn about music and explore the music that you love. Kind of in that same vein, would like to highlight what it looks like to discover an artist, maybe someone who's unfamiliar or new to you. So in this, let's go ahead and open up Ella Fitzgerald. And right off the bat, this is true for pretty much every artist in Roon. You're going to see an introduction, and we can expand this and see a whole long bio about who Ella Fitzgerald was. Birth date, death date. If there's available, we'll give you socials for that artist as well. We'll tell you what bands that person was a member of, who's mentioned in their biography. You get this really cool web of connections and different ways that you can explore and understand who this artist was. We're really looking to give you all the information you're interested in. Of course, if you're not interested in this information, you can always collapse it, scroll past it. But our goal is to present you with as much detail as possible and let you engage with an artist in a way that makes sense to you and is interesting to you. And then once you've read through the bio, the next thing you'll see in this room screen is some discography, kind of introducing you to what is this artist's music. By default, we sort this by popularity, just to get you introduced. You can choose to change that view, and you can choose to change how it's sorted, maybe by release date or by title, whatever's familiar for you. But our goal is to say, hey, you're interested in exploring this artist, in discovering their music. We're going to give you the tools that you need for understanding and getting familiar with them. And you'll see that as we continue scrolling through the screen. You'll see a live collaborators view right here. And this option is going to kind of highlight the works of these two people together. This changes from time to time as you view the screen. You might come back to this artist and see an entirely different collaboration highlighted. And what Roon is doing is just trying to show off music that might be interesting to you, collaborations that you maybe never thought of or maybe had never heard of. And our goal is to, again, bring music up and help you find and engage and listen to music. We'll show off similar artists, but we'll also show off a kind of unique to Roon feature called In Their Prime. And a lot of notable artists have this, where we're going to give you a timeline of notable albums from an artist. And Valence is going to, on its own, curate a little timeline and say, hey, of this person's discography, these are some really big highlights that are worth your time. And you should go through, and as you enjoy and want to check out this artist, these are the places that you should touch into and get more and kind of enrich that experience that you're getting with Roon and that you're appreciating with this artist. So we really want to offer that as a way to enhance and enjoy your listening experience. So yeah, with that, we'll also show collaborations and kind of influences. So again, talking about the web of connections and the way people have worked together in the music industry, Roon is still giving you all of those connections and giving you tools for seeing who's influenced by what and who is someone as a musician and who have they worked with and things like that. So it's a really cool way of seeing and experiencing music and the art behind music as people are working together. And it's something that we're pretty excited about. Just a couple other asides, I suppose. We're looking at another album with more people featured inside of the music tracks. And as you can see here, Roon is able to pull out all of that information and highlight who's in here, who is performing this music. And again, all of these names are links. And we can click on these and we can go see who this person is and what they've contributed elsewhere and see all of those connections. So we can grab this composer and see what other music that person has done that's highlighted. And again, a bio, we get to see information about them. It's a really useful tool for exploring, discovering, finding out more about music as you're listening to it and playing your music. Also worth noting, when we add zones and talk about zones in Roon and in what you're able to play to and things like that, the question comes up about what is Roon ready and what is Roon tested. So I have connected here a Roon tested device, which means that we have taken the device into our lab and we have done testing on it. It's a very literal term. And we want to make sure that it works well with Roon, and we certify that it works great with Roon. You just plug in, you use it. And another part of that Roon tested certification process also means that we're going to show you a little device icon that shows you exactly what device you have connected, what it looks like, and we'll include little bits of information there so that you just know that that device perfectly integrates with Roon. And that's what that Roon tested branding means. Roon ready devices go through all of that same certification. Big difference is that a Roon ready device is using streaming code that we at Roon have designed and written and integrated into that piece of hardware. And that becomes particularly relevant when you look at the signal path. As you can see here, the Dragonfly is an MQA capable product. An MQA track is being played to it. And you're seeing what is happening to that file as it's being streamed. And so for our Roon Ready product, with our streaming code on the end, we can tell you all of this information. We can control the volume on device, and we can tell you what's happening all the way through to the output. The device is doing its own upsampling, it's doing its own equalization. Any of those different aspects of sound quality and performance, Roon is able to show and highlight all of those different features for you as a user. So our goal here is to really highlight your listening experience and make sure that you know exactly what you're getting as a hi-fi enthusiast and you know what your experience is. So our goal with the Roon Ready and Roon Tested program is to make sure that's entirely clear to you and to make sure that you're able to get everything you're expecting and wanting out of your music listening experience right there. Also notable, you can click this link and open up the product manual. And for every Roon Tested, every Roon Ready device, that link is available there, just in case you want more information or want to make sure that your device is set up on your end. In terms of Roon Ready streaming and Roon Tested streaming, you don't have to do any setup. You add the device, Roon knows what it is, all the setup is done. We've already set all the settings, changed all the knobs. So all you have to do is click play. Of course, if you'd like, you could always go in and change different settings and tweak things, but I think that's a different presentation that we would give. So yeah, that's kind of the whole overview of what it looks like to use and enjoy Roon. For those of you curious, I can hop into settings here and say you wanted to add another audio device. It's as simple as going in here into settings and clicking on audio. And again, we can see all of the different devices available in my system that I can play music to. I can go into my services screen and say, hey, I haven't connected my Qobuz account. And I can log in here as well. And then I can hopefully remember this password. And then it'll log me in. I have forgotten the password. That is my mistake. But the process is really straightforward and simple. You're simply adding a device and connecting that experience right there. If you ever decide that you need to add music or that you'd like to add a NAS later after having set up streaming, it's as simple as going back into that add-in screen that I had showed you on the setups side of things. Inside of the settings app, it's right there for you to come back, revisit, add in things as you see needed. So all of those tools are there and available for you. All right, it looks like we've got some questions coming in. Again, you're welcome to ask us questions live. Our team is ready and waiting to answer you in chat, but some questions hopefully will get passed along to me and I'll be able to answer them here live on screen as well. We have one come in already asking if what Roon can do to show collaborations. And so they're looking for labels and things like that. And that's absolutely possible. Let's see. It's a good example that we want to show off here. Can grab an artist and open an album, and we're going to see different people who have collaborated on this album, right? We're going to see who's credited as a composer on the album, credited in the production, and then at the very bottom of the screen, you'll also see who the labels associated with the release are. If I were to click on any of these labels, it's going to open up my albums, and it's going to go into my library and show me who in my library has also performed from that label. If you click on expanding these, I can see who's associated with creating this album and producing this album. But again, it's worth noting that each of these people in this list are all hyperlinks. So I can click on Paul Williams and then go see where else has Paul Williams been working in music? What are those other places where he's touched music and performed music and created a bunch of different areas of his influence, right? So you get a lot of those different tools for discovery there inside of the Roon app, inside of the credits screen. So yeah, it's pretty strong. It's pretty cool for discovering more and getting more out of your music library. And it really emphasizes the value that being able to stream music brings in as a tool for seeing music and finding more things that maybe you thought you had a whole discography, but actually there was even more there for you to discover. Of course, you don't have to have streaming to see all of these. It's all built into Roon. Streaming just gives you the ability to see that connection and then listen to that connection because the album's right there for you. Looks like still waiting to see questions passed along my way. Trying to think. We've gotten questions before about tags. As you see here at the top of this album, we have tags available. All of these different things I can click on and they're going to bring me back to my library. tags are really a tool for you to organize your music for maybe things that you don't want to put into a playlist per se, but you still want them kind of put into boxes so that you have a point of reference, can go back and say, ah, yeah, I remember that genre, or I have that specific feeling that I want to encapsulate with this word. And so we see what's in my library here. Clicking on the tag in general is going to bring up suggestions, or is going to give me tools for increasing the presentation of that tag in my library. But if I go look at my own library, I can grab any of the albums in my library here, and then I can add my own custom tags. And by creating my custom tags, I'm building my own individual boxes for music that meet a specific type of feeling, or give me a little point of reference for whatever I'm looking to kind of organize my music into a subgenre, maybe live performances, maybe whatever kind of special detail you're looking to create, that's what a tag is for. And then you can view that tag and see all of your music that you've given that piece of information. We have a question about where does Roon source album reviews from? It's a great question. There's a lot of different sources. Off of the top of my head, some of them are coming from TiVo, some of them are coming from different music review sites. We're building like a big index of a bunch of different sources and pulling them all together so that you get to capitalize on the greatest amount of information. So it's a broad swath of different pieces of insight and offers of resource that we're just kind of collecting in one place and then showing to you. Oftentimes, whenever you're looking at a review, you can see who wrote that review. If you look up that person and their review, you can usually see more context from that person, where it came from, when they published it, those little bits of detail. Let's see. Someone's asking if you can stream music with Roon alone, or if you need Tidal or Qobuz. You can use Roon without a streaming service connected, but that does require that you have ownership of some music on your device that Roon is able to access and index. Roon is not a streaming service, so you do need to add Tidal or Qobuz if you're looking to stream music over the internet. But if you have music already and you're looking to manage that music, looking to enhance your listening experience for whatever collection of music you have, Roon is absolutely a tool for you. All of the features I've shown today are available to you, aside from maybe going and viewing an album that you're not familiar with at all and hadn't heard of before and listening to it. That's where a streaming service would come in and enhance that discovery experience. Let's see here. We have questions about editing metadata in albums. It's a pretty simple process. You can open up an album. Maybe this album doesn't have any metadata, and you just click on the edit button here. Roon has done a good job of identifying what album this is, but if you feel like it hasn't done that, you can ask it to try again and to research whatever that album is. There's a bunch of different ways that it can rescan or re-identify that album that's in your library. I can set up some preferences where Roon has its own idea of what that album is, or the file I have already put into that file's metadata, can set those preferences there. Can always revert back to default if you prefer. And then you get a bunch of options here in Edit Album to tweak exactly what you would like the representation of that album to be inside of Roon. Again, this doesn't change the file itself, but in Roon, if you're looking to edit the way that something looks, here's a really great tool for tweaking each aspect of every part of this album so that you have a great view of exactly what you want it to look like. Again, clicking on the three dots, clicking on edit, and you're able to edit an album there. Let's see. People are asking about Nucleus, and that's a great question. So for our Roon experience, you can install Roon on any computer in your home, and you get the Roon experience. You have that device running as your Roon core. It's the brain of the system, and it's performing all of that music streaming for you. But if that device is your laptop, sometimes you turn it off at night, or you close it, or you walk away and someone at home wants to listen to music while you're out and about with your laptop, right? A Nucleus offers you a very simple solution to getting your Roon system set up and plugged in your home. You don't have to do any additional setup. You don't have to worry about software updates, but you get a completely silent, fanless Roon core designed by us at Roon. That's just going to be kind of that music listening appliance. It's going to be that server that you don't have to maintain. It's there to streamline your Roon listening experience, and it's there to make sure that you're getting the most out of your Roon system as you're able to just invest in having a Nucleus or Roon core set up and running. You don't have to maintain, you don't have to worry about turning on and off. That's really optimized for your Roon experience. It's going to give you the fastest performance. It's going to give you the most reliable way to manage your Roon library. So kind of getting into that question of why Nucleus, it's there for your ease of use, and it's there for the quality of your Roon experience. And we want it to be a tool that people are able to take advantage of to really optimize their listening and optimize their overall experience that they're getting out of what Roon has to offer. So yeah, that's why we make Nucleus, and it's an awesome tool. It's really a fantastic Roon core. I'd be hard pressed to say you could find something better. All right, let's see. I think we have a question about zones. I think we have covered a little bit of what's being asked about zones. Someone's asking about the steps or process it would take to transfer audio files from a Roon, from say a PC to a Nucleus. Also a question about ripping a CD. So the process for transferring a song from your computer to your Nucleus is going to be pretty straightforward. I have a Mac. So my view for what this looks like is going to be a little different than what other people might see. Let me change the screen that I am sharing here. Go ahead and open this guy. So inside of Finder, I see that my Nucleus is available on my network as a networked device. It's plugged into the Ethernet. I can see it right there. If I open it up, my computer is going to connect to it over my network inside of Finder. For a Windows PC, you would do this inside of Windows Explorer, not Internet Explorer, but the little file icon Explorer on your start bar. You'll see that network device there. I can click on data, and I'll see storage here, and I have a hard drive plugged into my Nucleus. And this is where I would put my music. And you can see the music that I have stored in here. I've chosen to put it in as files. You can just throw the albums in here. Roon will understand what to do with them. So moving music into this folder is really as simple as taking wherever it is on your computer or on your network, dragging and dropping it into this folder, and letting Roon do the rest as far as music management. So you're getting a pretty straightforward way of just opening up that file explorer, finding where your Nucleus is on your network, and and then moving it into that folder. In terms of ripping music and that whole experience, for a nucleus, you just plug in a CD ripper, pop the CD in, Nucleus will automatically rip that file in as FLAC and add it to your library. No extra steps there. In terms of ripping music from another device, moving it to another device, what I just showed you is probably the best recommended way to do that, especially if your core is a Nucleus. You rip that CD onto your desktop PC, you can just drag it over your Nucleus and it'll transfer over your home network just like that. Let's see. We have a question about, can one account have multiple users? And that's a great question. The answer is absolutely yes. Roon has the ability to create profiles. So I already have like the main profile. We named it demo. We'll make a second profile. We'll name him Steve. Steve was born, we'll say the beginning of this year. And I can create that profile. And what's going on here now is that Roon understands that there are two separate people here. So when I go home and I'm in the Steve profile, I will, at this point, see the same recommendations as Demo was seeing. But over time, I will get my own personal recommendations. Roon will understand that I am a separate person from Demo. And you're going to see kind of a separate experience there. At the end of the day, you're sharing a library. So if you have Tidal and Qobuz connected, albums that Steve clicks the Add to Library button on, are going to show up as added and available for a Demo to play in the library overall. But Roon is going to recognize that they're two different people, that their recommendations are different, and that their overall listening experience is there. So yes, multiple people can share a Roon library and share that streaming experience, and still have their own individual tastes and profiles inside of Roon, separated by our profile experience. All right, we have a couple more questions about tags. I am fascinated by this mystery around tags. This is a little bit new to me, but in like the unfamiliarity with tags. But tags, they're here. They're a way of creating a smaller like subset of your music. They're here for you to organize your music. They're available on every single album. We've created general tags, kind of genres, for you to be able to click on and say, hey, this is a rap album. These are other artists connected to this artist, and it's a way to organize your music. But you're able to create your own tags to create your own filter for this album. And then you can add in more songs, more albums to that tag because they elicit a specific feeling or they kind of embody something that you're interested in around that music. So, right, I could just create a general tag that's just, I like the music here, and I like it on the whole album. I don't want to just put a whole album on a playlist. So I'm gonna make a tag that just kind of embodies that feeling that I have about that album. I can click on the tag and then it shows up inside of the tag that I've created for that specific feeling. So it gives you just another tool for managing your music library and managing the way that you kind of see and find albums that you enjoy. Let's see here. We have questions about Tidal and Qobuz. It's a great question about how do I make Roon prefer one service or over another and show me a specific track or highlight a specific listening experience. Let me grab my password, log into Qobuz, and then I will show you the difference in how Roon shows off those different listening experiences. All right, so now we're sending, right? I'm gonna grab what artist do I want to grab? You see a Lou Reed playlist. I'm just gonna go hop into Lou Reed. So if I look at this Lou Reed album and I go over look at versions, there are two versions, and one is in title, one is in Qobuz. Roon will tell me which one I'm looking at here, and it will give me an option to add one or the other to my library. While I am currently viewing this version of the album, if you will, when I click the Add to Library button, the one that I was viewing gets added. I can click on the title version to change which one I am viewing, and I can choose to add both versions to my library. Now, once I've done that, Roon will decide, just kind of based off of usually resolution, I believe it is, which one is the primary version. But I can always manually say, hey, make this primary. The remove it from group button here is there for you to say, hey, these aren't actually the same album, or I see them as different albums. Maybe one's a live performance and I want that isolated. But albums are usually grouped together in your library by, hey, if you have multiple versions of the same album, they all stack together. And in this case, I have two versions of the same Lou Reed album, but I want to prefer the Qobuz version. And so in that case, I would open that up and click on make primary. Sorry, the primary version here. So that would be how you would set that preference. And for every album that you're finding that you want to listen to, you want to make sure it's in one streaming service or the other, making it the primary version will guarantee that's always the version that's played for you. So someone's asking, why are some albums some songs in an album marked and some are not? That's just kind of a top pick. Usually it means it's a popular song or a song that Valence thinks is worth listening to based off of kind of our curators' choices and things that we think are worth noting for you to check out. That is all a check mark means. It's really there for discovery and kind of highlighting places, touch points for you to experience music from. Let's see. Someone's asking, can I do a label search for music beyond what's already in my library? So if I just want to go check out a specific label or specific music, Beethoven, from a record production company, right? The answer is yes, you can do that. Here we can see labels inside of Focus, and if I click on Warner Classics, I can see all of the music that's composed by Beethoven that Warner Classics have released. If I go in here and look at that, I can see all of the tracks and such inside of that, and I can see them credited as the label there. Clicking on Warner Classics is a filter inside of my own library. But if you're looking for a specific label, generally I'd recommend that you go kind of into a specific area where Focus will show up and give you all of that information that you're looking for from that particular label. In this case, I can look at a composer and then see who's worked with that label there. Focus is available inside of any view in Roon. So if I could look at an album, I can see who is credited inside of this album as well, and dig in from there. Focus is everywhere in Roon. It's a really strong tool for making discoveries and things like that. Let's see. Someone's asking how to perform a Roon backup. That lives here in settings. And if you want to manually perform a backup, you can click the backup button. if you want to decide where your Roon is backing up to, um, you can choose that here. You can also connect, say, a Dropbox, and Roon can back up to the cloud for you and build a backup of your library. To be clear, this is backing up your Roon index and your Roon profile and your settings and what Valence understands about you. What Valence does and learns about is all stored locally on your core inside of your backup. It's not cloud synced. It's not up in the internet. It's on your device. So building that backup is important, and it's a great question to ask. So you can choose where that's stored. And storing it in the cloud would be a safe way to make sure that it's available if something happens to your hard drive or something like that. I note that this is your Roon kind of instance. Like it's what Roon understands about you, because it manages your library and playlists you built in Roon and things like that. But your tracks themselves, you always want to have some sort of secondary backup for those. Roon's backup is it of your track files themselves. So make sure you have those in a safe place, duplicate copy of them on another hard drive or something like that. Because backing up Roon is different than backing up your musical library itself. You can also schedule backups here and create a sort of set of period or set of times you'd like Roon to just perform a backup. You can set it in the morning or in the evening when you're not listening, so that it doesn't intrude or slow down your listening experience. So you kind of get to be very, very hands-on and customize that experience as well. I think we are going on nearly an hour now, so maybe grab one or two more questions and then kind of wrap things up. Thanks so much, everyone, for connecting with us. If you have more questions or your questions haven't been answered, please visit us at community.roonlabs.com. So we're community.roonlabs.com. And our full-time technical support team be able to interact with you there. And our overall Roon community of people will be there as well to maybe help out and interact with you and answer some questions. But we have full-time staff there who are ready and waiting to answer any questions you have. Community.roonlabs.com. If you have any questions that weren't addressed today, or maybe you get started with Roon and new questions pop up, we're here to help. We want to make sure that that resource is available to you even when this webinar is gone. A couple other questions here. Someone's asked if there are any limitations on storage in the Nucleus Plus. Technically, the answer is no. You can put in a very large hard drive inside a Nucleus, and it will be able to see the whole thing. It takes a 2.5-inch drive that you would install. So your main limitation there is the biggest size that you can find, a 2.5-inch storage drive. At least that's how it's explained to me. So good luck. I know 8 terabyte solid state drives at 2.5 inches do exist. They're kind of pricey, but yeah, there's really no maximum limit storage limitation for a Nucleus Plus. Nucleus, the standard version, this is a good point in time to kind of differentiate the two. The standard Nucleus is sort of the Nucleus we would recommend for most people. It's able to stream up to 6 zones all at once simultaneously. You might ask, hey, I have 10 audio devices in my home, but I only maybe listen to 2 at a time. Nucleus can easily manage multiple zones all added to the core. If you're only listening to less than 6 of those all at once, Nucleus will do more than adequately. It's got plenty of performance there. So if you're listening to 7, 8, 9 zones all at once regularly, that's where Nucleus Plus comes in. Nucleus Plus also comes in if you have a music library that includes more than 100,000 tracks. We want to make sure that your Roon library index performs as quickly as possible. And we want to make sure that your experience is very robust there. So including streamed music, say from Tidal or Qobuz that you have added to library, that number of tracks exceeds 100,000 or is close to 100,000, and you're adding tracks over time. That's where we recommend Nucleus Plus, because it's able to address very large libraries and continue to grow with you as your music collection grows. I've also been encouraged to make sure that you're aware If you have general questions and maybe you want to see if you can troubleshoot it yourself, we have a knowledge base full of pictures and documentation on how to set up Roon, how to add a zoom, how to mess around with equalization and DSP in Roon, which is something we haven't even touched on here, but it's really cool. Help.roonlabs.com is a super awesome resource for helping you visualize what's going on with Roon and do some troubleshooting to see how can I solve this problem myself. Help.roonlabs.com will give you a lot of tools for finding and fixing any questions you have about Roon. So again, two resources for you. Personal help that will directly answer your questions is community.roonlabs.com, and a general knowledge base full of pictures and descriptions and extra information that might be helpful to you is help.roonlabs.com. I think that's mainly it for us. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for joining us. Super appreciate everyone being here, and thanks to everyone in chat who's been helping me and answering questions and passing along questions. Our team's the best. We'll hopefully see you again soon, and have a wonderful week.